All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of React Wednesdays. My name is TJ VanToll. I work as a developer advocate at Blues Wireless. Now, if you're new here to React Wednesdays, this is a show we do on Wednesdays, as the name sort of implies, where we essentially just bring in cool people from around the React, from around the front end, the JavaScript worlds, and have us teach us something new or something interesting that we all use in our development lives. So if you are new, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to the show in the chat. It's telerik.com/react-wednesdays. If you're on YouTube, you can find that link in the description. On the site, you'll find a list of upcoming shows we have. You can watch previous episodes. You can subscribe to calendars if you want to see shows that are upcoming. So I'd recommend you check that out. Today, though, we have a really cool episode planned. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and just bring on our guests, Anthony and Patak, because we are talking about Vite. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hello.
Why don't you start by introducing yourself, telling people who you are, why you're famous, that sort of stuff. Anthony, why don't we can start with you?
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Anthony Fu, and I'm the Vue core team member and also a Vite core team member. And currently, I'm working on Nux Lab to bring the Vite integration to Nux. So yeah, so I'm kind of an fanatic open sourcer, and I have created several packets and several open source projects, and I think most of them are kind of Vite and the Vue related. So one is that Vue use utilities that's made for Vue with the compilation API, and one is slide div and presentation for developer built on top of Vite, and then I think it's Vitejs that I built with Patak, and is the test runner on top of Vite. Yeah. So yeah, what about you, Patak?
Yeah. So I'm also a core team member of Vite, and also as Anthony said, from the Vitejs team now. And yeah, we have been working a lot. A few weeks, I joined StackBlitz to work full time on Vite and the ecosystem. So now I have kind of a lot of time to work on these projects, and I'm really excited to be here with you, DJ, also.
Awesome. Well, I'd encourage everybody that's showed up here today, if you have any questions for these two, just feel free to chime them in. But I'm going to start with the most basic of questions. We would like to start with the beginner-friendly questions. What is Vite? Who wants to take the 101? What is it? What does it do? Why would you want to use it in your projects?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I take it, Anthony?
Yeah, you take it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want we share the screen already, and maybe we can
go.
talk
if you think that would help explain it, let's do it.
Yeah, because we can look at the docs.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen. Okay. Are you seeing it?
I've got it. And yep.
Nice.
Okay. We get the matrix here for a second until you switch over.
Yeah. Sorry.
There we go. We're good.
So yeah, Vite is a front end tool, a build tool and dev server at the same time. That it is kind of two big things. One thing is the dev server, that is mostly what people talk about when they talk about Vite, because it gives you a very a snappy experience when you develop. One of the main things is that we don't bundle during development. We can later take a look a bit more deep into that. So you get instant feedback. So that is one part. And the other part is that it's using rollup during build time, and you can think of it as a opinionated rollup setup. And this is quite a battle-tested solution to generate optimized applications for production. So it will make all the standard optimizations minimizing and everything that we are used. So we are checking now the docs. I think also it's good to open the GitHub, and yeah, so one thing that is that is interesting is that we are almost about to hit like 500 contributors.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like I think it's one of the interesting things that Vite has is that there is a very large contributor base. So it's a really fun project to get involved and contribute to.
The logo is also amazing. I'm always obsessed with that, but it's really, really cool.
Yes.
So I'm curious, just like one other basic question. Vite is framework agnostic, correct? Like are there certain limitations around that, or can you basically use it with just about anything?
Yeah, you can use it with like anything. And nowadays, like there is a lot of different frameworks. Like the ecosystem is kind of huge now. Like I had like let's put like I had prepared like this kind of like the current ecosystem. So
okay,
like you can see that there is like Svelte, Vue, React, Preact, Solid, Lead, Marco. Like all this framework will have like integrations, and in particular the React one, we have the plugin into core, and also like the Vue and the React are into core, and the rest they are official plugins done by the team. For example, like the Preact team maintains their own, the Svelte team maintains their own, and the same for Marco and Solid. So right now you can use Vite with any modern framework out there.
It's cool. It's an exciting project to me because I feel like, I've been doing front end for a long time, and it's the last, like, I want to say a handful of years, we got into this pattern where it felt like every project had this like huge like Webpack config, right? The big Webpack build step that's got complex and really clunky. And it feels like the last few years there's been a revolution in like projects exactly like this that are trying to speed that up and I guess sort of like accelerate development in this area of development that we kind of let languish for a while.
Yeah, totally. I think it's one of the things that got people hooked up also, like to get out of that like configuration hell. Like Vite has like out of the box support. I think like one thing like everybody should do before starting with Vite is to read the features page, because it lists all the out of the box features. And like, for example, like TypeScript, like you just import a TypeScript file and it will work. Like there is like nothing else to do there. Or like JSX or any framework, like here it's like Vue, but there are plugins for anything. And the same for CSS, or like post CSS is also by default. And if you, or CSS modules, and if you use other CSS preprocessors, you will need to only add to your project the dependency, and that's all. Like that's all you need to configure it. So this is kind of the same of what Parcel started to do, that they really took this like out of the box config for most of the common patterns, and Vite takes a page from that movement and like continues to build on top of that.
Yeah, because I'm kind of used to the Webpack world where if you want to do something like this, it's like, well, you got to find the right plugin, install it, then your Webpack config has to change, and then you have to test it. And I mean, it works, but it gets really cumbersome when you start to get into real world apps and you have a bunch of these things going on, and it can get to be a real mess and slow as well too.
Yeah, totally.
I think about talking about that performance. So I think the one of the great feature of Vite is that everything is on demand. So like we don't actually bundle your app, but like we serve your modules individually. Like and then with that, the browser's native ESM's approach, like grab the dependency of that modules from the browser. So like we can just transpile that modules. We don't need to like maintain that the relationship between the modules. So as you can see that in the two graph that in our documentations, the first one is the bundle-based app server. That's it will bundle your apps and then like your dev server will be ready. So that depending on that how large your app is, it could take like from like seconds to like a few minutes, right? So it would be like the first step you want to like working on that project, and you have to wait for that many seconds. But then like for the second figure is the native ESM based dev server, which Vite is. So we basically like it's a dev server, so like the server is ready immediately, and then like when you open up the page, the server hit at our entry, and we notice that okay, these files have a few script or like a few modules in that depends on. So we only transpile that modules. So like even though that your app would be like really large, we only transpile that files or that certain level of the modules. So it could be like quite fast compared to the old approach.
Is native ES module support in browsers pretty universal at this point? Is it pretty new? Where is that at? Like, are you limited? Do you have to be careful about what browser you're using, or is that pretty good at this point?
And I think that could be like one of the interesting part of it. Things like Vite kind of to trade differently at the dev time and the build time. So at the developer times that for us that we are developers, right? So like we got the latest browsers we had. So like overall that the native ESM support is, I think, is 95% already in the market. But like as a developer, that's kind of something that we can take that for granted. And then like so like things like we separate the build and the dev separately, so like we can optimize for the experience for both of the world and to have like the great thing from the both of world. So basically like the native ESM is required at the dev time, but in the build time we also have a legacy plugins that could make the native ESM supporting that back to not sure that's what's the real number is, but like you can configure a bit and then like having a build Vite app, right? Like you write in ESM but like running in the browser.
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradigm shift for people like me that are so used to like your dev server and your production build are like kind of the same thing, right? Like maybe you have a few more optimization flags in production, but like projects like this kind of like I said, it's like a paradigm shift, right? Because dev is kind of using a completely separate process for these like massive performance benefits from handling modules on the fly.
Yeah, but it's like it's worth it because the loop of feedback that you get is amazing. Like on top of what Anthony said, like also during build, because we are using ES build that already transpile like to like a certain target, you may not need for your application the plugin legacy. But like if you really need to like target, like let's say like I don't know, Internet Explorer 11 or something like that, then you can grab this one and like it will use Babel and directly like transpile like to very old syntax. But like ESBuild already like takes you to a base that is very, very low. So that is good. And also like we are using ESBuild not only like at build time, but also is like a really part of the dev server experiences in what Anthony explained, that each module is going to be transpiled. So that is done by ESBuild, for example, like it will just strip out all the TypeScript types, it will compile JSX. So like each module is processed also really, really fast. And Vite takes a lot of care to avoid any like demanding process. Let's say like it will not do any AST processing, if not like by default. In particular, for example, we don't even need Babel during development for a lot of frameworks. In particular, in React, we need to add it because a lot of the React ecosystem is using like I don't know, like CSS in JS, things that require Babel plugins, or even the like React Fast Refresh also requires a Babel plugin. So we are like during development, if you use Vite plugin React, Babel is going to be there. But even that, like there are, maybe we could replace it in the future. Vercel, for example, is investing a lot in SWC, that is this Rust tool replacement for Babel. And if that matures later, we could actually start to use it instead of Babel and make it even faster for React. That it is like still faster. Like we could actually see it in action. Like if I go to vite.new, wait, sorry. So if I go to vite.new and then like go to React, this is going to create a new playground with the basic React example from Create Vite. So as you saw, like this already like installed all the dependencies and like started the server and gave you an app. Imagine doing this with like Create React app, you know? So this was like what we saw was like everything, no? Like installing from, like I can show you like from here, like it's directly installing the dependencies. Vite is really lightweight. There was a lot. I saw that Trisound was there in the chat. Like he actually made a lot of PRs to make Vite even smaller. So that was really nice. So it's very lightweight. And then like, the server starts, as Anthony said, right away, and is on demand. The page will ask for the HTML, and then from there, the HTML will have, like, for example, like source, like main JSX, and then it will keep asking. And if we go, for example, I don't know, let's go here, and we go here, and let's say like a there. So you see, like it's autosave here, so it's going to be like automatic, and this is hot model replacement, so the count is still 9. So you can see here like the log saying that this was with ATMR.
It's very cool. We have a good question that just came in from chat. Does ESBuild return the AST of the JavaScript, or does it pass the compiled string, which is then parsed by Acorn to interpret the imports and stuff?
It will not give you the AST. Like this is one of the things that ESBuild, like in the scope of it, like it will just give you a plain string. And Acorn is not going to be there because we are not like using like AST. Actually, I maybe like through Babel, like there is some AST processing there then, but normally like everything will be like with custom parser, like a custom lexers, or even some regex, like to get into like be fast there processing using magic string and another kind of processing that like doesn't require like creating all this AST for the file.
Thanks for the question. I'll encourage chat too. If you have questions, please send them in while we have these two. I don't want to be asking everything. I do have a simpler question. Could you go back to the diagram? Yeah, this one. So I just want to make sure that I understand what's going on here more or less. So for the bundle-based server, like let's say I'm developing a page of let's just say like a React app, right? So with the bundle-based server, my page would use like a header and a footer or whatever. But the bundle would compile all of that, right? Because it's got to push it all out at once. So my entire bundle will have the page, but it also have the header and the footer, and they're ready to go. Now with Vite, it sounds like my page essentially gets more like on demand required. And then when it sees the header is going to have to like basically more or less get compiled like on the fly with its imports, more or less. Like it's like the browser says like, oh, I need this module. Let me do the transpilation to actually more or less get it on the fly. Am I more or less interpreting that correctly? Okay, so then my question becomes, what is actually doing the transpilation? So does the browser say like, oh, I need the header, but it needs like, it's written in TypeScript or whatever, so it needs to do some processing on it. Is it that like the Vite dev server that's actually taking like my TypeScript code and like doing its logic to spit something out to the browser? Is it like the Vite server level that's doing that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the browser doesn't know TypeScript or doesn't know JSX. So like the Vite server there is kind of like a smart server that gives the browser what it can consume. So it will actually also not only like transpile the files, but in each module, it will do some import analysis and like even modify the URLs. So the imports that you do in your normal code that sometimes cannot be consumed by the browser because they are file system, let's say URLs, so that will be like transpile like the URL so the browser can consume that and keep asking for the next imports. But so kind of like the Vite server is augmenting in that regard the browser to understand all the common patterns that we use today.
It's interesting too, because I was shocked and I only know, like, I'd encourage people that haven't seen it before to actually try it out, because it looks like my naive approach would be like, oh, like if you went this route, it'd be a little bit faster because you're getting things on demand, but you can't really appreciate just how much faster this approach is until you see it. It's like, it's completely night and day. You don't believe it until you see it, sort of thing. And I'm actually like kind of curious why it's so much faster, because it seems like like it makes sense that it would be faster to do things on demand. I don't know if it's just because it excludes stuff that it doesn't that you're not actually using, or if just doing things at a file at a time like allows you to cache more. I don't know why. I don't understand totally why it's so much faster, but it's amazing how much faster it runs.
Okay. And I think that could like count with like many aspects. Like one of the most straightforward one is that we use ESBuild, which is a native tool. So like that could be like, I think it claims that can be 100 times compared to the JS tooling, and then like we kind of like scope the transpilations inside that module, so we don't need to like check if we don't need to like merge with several modules and then like to like do the trade checking, something like things like in dev, like you don't care about the actual size or the trade checking.
True.
And also like things like it's in your local dev server, right? So like even though it's HTTP requests, but like inside of your local machine, it's like just like instance, and then that we can make this happen. And also like we also made some optimizations on this. So for example, like when you like importing Lodash, if you like import all it contains thousands of the modules inside of the package, and then like if you just importing into the browsers, the HTML still have some like overhead, slightly overhead, but like with the files increase, that could be something that can like slow down your process to like transpile or to like transfer all the files into the browser. So we do is called like dependency pre-bundling. So when we detecting that, okay, you are like importing from a dependency, so we will like pre-bundle that dependency into a single file with ESBuild, and then like we can serve that files to the browsers. That would be like really efficient, since like there would be only one files. And then like if you have multiple dependencies that have like common chunks, it will also do. So like it would do some like things like we kind of basically like separate. We can assume that, okay, we treat them separate as the user code and the dependencies. Things like you don't expect the dependencies changes a lot during the development, but like your code does. So like we enable the hot module replacement for your code, but like we do the pre-bundling for your dependencies.
Yeah, that's really slick. Actually, is the dependencies just basically if it appears in your package JSON sort of dependencies, you consider it a dependency?
There is a scan phase in the first time you run your app that will like check you're using ES build, so it's very fast, and will try to get all the dependencies right. Then if later they appear, because there are some that will like get in the middle of your app, it's not a problem. There will be a missing dependency and it will be like processed again, but it will try this scan phase to get as many as possible. So it will only do this the first time. If you see the first time we did it, like there was this pre-bundling dependencies step, and then the second time, like I ran it again here, and there was that was not the case any longer. And this is because there is a cache for this, and like it will there check your like package JSON, and if the hash like of your dependency is the same, like then it will say like, okay, I have already what I need. We don't need that to do that again. And so like if we like do it again, like it will start even faster than the first time we tried.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And this is also like regarding your question, like on top of all that like technical stuff that is going on, there is also like the perceive, like how fast it is perceived by the user. And the fact that like we are going from this model that is doing a lot of work and then starting the server to a model where we first start the server and then start to do the work, it makes a lot of difference, because the user already sees something. Like it's like it right away, it like 300 milliseconds, it will like get a server that it has done nothing. That is why it's fast, because at this point that nothing has been done. It's really easy to be fast that way. And then the browser will already appear. It will be white, but like it will be there. And then like it will like you will already start to see some things in the screen. The browser can start to show like the HTML, the skeleton of your app, and this is like this perceive like how fast it is I think is quite important also, even if it takes the same amount of time to get your app like to the final state.
It's really funny because when we talk about perceived performance, we're usually thinking of like end users, right? Like how fast does my product carousel show up or something like that. But in this case, like we are the users of a dev tool, right? And we're subject to the exact same sort of conditions, right? Like we think something's faster if we see it faster. It's an awesome point. It's really cool. I wonder, like, so one question I had too that I probably should have asked earlier, like, what is the, like, if you're using, like, if you have an existing project that is not using Vite today and you want to switch to it, is there like what are like the get started installation steps, and how hard would it be to configure something that isn't using this today to switch over?
I don't see the faces, but like I can take it depends on the framework. So there are some guides for each framework that each community is maintaining. I will suggest that before starting, you create some like projects, like with like locally, for example, like with create Vite, you just like if we go to the docs and getting started, so you can try it online, or you can directly say like pm create Vite, and you will get like some prompts saying like what framework you want to use. Do you want to use TypeScript? And then like you can play with it and learn how it works before starting like a migration. But then when you have to do the migration, like normally, like if you came from Webpack, there will be some things like to do, in the sense like alias will kind of work differently. So you will configure some stuff, but mostly it is about like deleting a lot of dependencies. That is quite nice. So I don't think it's a very massive effort to try it.
Is there still some configuration for some, like, is there a Vite configuration file that you need for some things? Because I know you said a lot more is built in, but I imagine, it looks like there are some things you probably still, yeah,
you need, and there is this like very cool thing that Vite does that also later a lot of projects in the Vite ecosystem are doing also, is that you have this define config function that is like typed. So you create your Vite config TS or like JS, and you will have like a lot of type information when you are defining the config. And yeah, there is a lot to config. We are trying to make it like a core, let's say, like opinionated a bit, because you have to strike a good balance that you cannot add the 10 config options that everybody is asking every week.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's going to make it unmaintainable. But like it is like possible to configure a lot of things, mainly because there are a lot of frameworks that are using it and they need this flexibility. But most of the flexibility, like this is a project that Anthony started, and Anthony, maybe you can talk a bit about like the plugins and why they are flexible.
It's another awesome logo, by the way, just real quick.
Yeah. So yeah, this list gets like quite a lot, and I actually I didn't catch up, and that could like fit like I think like 50 episodes to like talk about all of them. So yeah, but like I think one of the big like really like powerful parts is that Vite plugin is compatible with rollup plugin. So like it inherits from the rollup plugin's interface, and then extending that with some like custom like Vite specific hooks that you can like manipulate with the Vite, and like to check if it's separate environment dev or like build. And then like, which means that most of the rollup plugins are valid Vite plugins that you can already use, like directly use them and then like use them as the Vite plugin. Yeah, which is like really interesting. So these ones that we can like, so like basically like for the plugins, we have the one interface to like transform your files, but we can share the logic between like dev and the build. So like for as a plugin authors, you don't need to like really care about that if it's running on dev or build. This also like ensure the consistency between what you see in your dev environment and what you actually got in the production. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. So like one thing, maybe let's talk about like a bit about the history of Vite. So like Vite is created by Evan Yu, the creator of Vue, and it was initially like being an opinioned dev runners for Vue only. So like it was mainly to like experiment if this idea is possible and to like bring the better developer experience to Vue. And then like when we do the 2.0 like refactoring, and then we kind of script them out to like to have the Vite which is like coupled with the core, and now it's a plugins. So basically like we use these plugins to like dog fooding ourselves to ensure that the plugin interface is powerful enough. Things like to like compiling Vite app is quite and complex things, and if like you can make a Vite work with the plugins, that could possibly like that can like help to make a lot possible for others, right? So I think that's the initial story for this one. And yeah,
Anthony, you have a fan in chat too. Mr. Sunshine says you're literally their hero. So you brought your fans to the stream, so I appreciate that. Actually, I'm curious, how did you guys personally get involved with the project? Like what brought you in or made you interested in it?
So yeah, so like I think basically like when there's a thing that's come out that's like tweeted by Evan, so he said okay, he's working on a new Vite playground, something like that. So like as a Vue developer or like as a Vue team members, so for me that I definitely like go to check it out. And you know that the performance and the experience that Vite provides, that's once you get in that you cannot like switch back to others, you know, yeah, something like that. So So I kind of like to see, okay, this is great. So like at that time, and Vue 3 is about to like do RC release. So I think, okay, maybe that's a good chance for me to like build an app. So I built an icon explorer on top of Vite and Vue. And then like this is one the first thing that I kind of like getting more into the Vite world. And then like, okay, this is something maybe I can do. And then I create several Vite plugins for it. And yeah, that's bring me to the ecosystem. And yeah, Patak.
Yeah, like I was also like doing like Vue things like with some projects, and starting to use Vite in another project. And again, like it was at that point, there was a lot of, Evan was like doing a massive sprint, and the things will break because it was like in beta at that point. So there were a lot of opportunities for contributing. So we were starting to like help a bit with some things. For example, the with the Vite rollup plugins, like compatibility, that was kind of like important at that point. And then like when Evan created the team, like we were like already like creating the community and the Discord community that I also like suggest that everyone that is interested in Vite will join our Discord. And later we can give a link.
Yeah.
Because it is like one of the things that hooked me up was the community. Like there is tons of really interesting discussions about not only Vite, but even like the like feature of build tooling. And now like most of the maintainers from like the frameworks that we use are there, and they are active. So it's a really awesome place to be there, and I can contribute with others.
Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, you opened up the stream by showing like how many contributors, like unique contributors you have, and which I think is really, really cool, because I know as someone who's tried to maintain or run big open source projects before, that's perhaps the hardest thing to do, because getting somebody to contribute is a huge step, because that means they took time out of their day to put some work forward to try to make a project better, which is kind of enormous and hard to do. Do you think there's anything about the project? You mentioned the Discord community, but like anything that's helped like drive that, like anything you're proud of about the way the project is or is run?
I think that like the people make a lot of difference there, no? Like all the people that got interested in Vite and the kind of like the vibe of the community that was later when other joins like then transmitted. And we like Evan also like had a lot to do with that, because he actually, when he created the team, he gave like the people like a lot of like responsibilities, and he let the team grow, let's say. And also like the way he takes contribution. And then later like Anthony is also like great in that regard, and we all try to be welcoming for others to contribute. The truth is that a project like Vite will be like kind of like really hard or impossible to do with like only one person doing like running the show, because it is like, imagine like not only Vite core, but then you have all the plugins for all the frameworks, all the plugins to do like things like PWA, like, or like there is so much things in the ecosystem right now, and you need a lot of people working together to achieve that.
Yeah, and like Anthony brought it up too when he talks about the plugin system. It's like it's one of those like chicken and egg scenarios where you kind of need that plugin ecosystem to exist, because I found lots of times people coming to these tools, you like if you have the thing they want, like if they have some requirement, right, I need to work with this framework or this system. If you don't have like a plugin or a way of doing it, they might leave, right? Whereas if you have something out there, or like you have an API that makes it easy to make your compatibility with your thing, then that just opens the door for so many more people. This is you guys some real big fans in the chat too. If you haven't been looking, you should look at some of these. You should look at some of these messages, because you definitely seem to have a welcoming community, and they showed up in the chat too.
Nice.
Actually,
and
go ahead.
No, like I was going to say that like it's interesting because the same is now happening in Vitejs also. Like if you're interested in testing, like Vitejs and the community and its Discord is amazing. Like there are also like a lot of really interesting discussions going on right now, and like it's getting like similar vibe to what happened in Vite.
Oh man. So okay, now you have to explain what Vitest is. And I'll say too, like the logo, man, your logos are on point. This is really good too.
That was Anthony.
Logos are super good. I think you have to explain what Vitest is now, because I'm very curious.
Okay. And yeah, let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So okay, can you see that?
We're good. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, here is the Vitejs. So like, you know, that's it called Vite plus test, right? Okay. And then like we like maybe let's talk about that's why we made this project first.
Yeah.
So oh yeah, I need to keep that on this screen. So yeah. So basically like when we made Vite, and then like one of the main point is that the test integrations. Since like all the modules, all the evaluations happens in browser, so like we don't have like the bundle process, and then like everything is asynchronized, and so what so like when people want to use Jest, so basically like it will have a separate pipeline. So like if you want to TypeScript support, you need to configure TSJS and so some of the other things, but for Vite it's built in out of box. So the things like there's a two pipeline things. We have the problems that's the misaligned between your Vite apps and the test environment. So when we like made a new plugin on Vite, so you can do some like sexy stuff to like transform, do some like magic inside your app. But like when you use Jest, that's you have to write the same transformation for Jest again. And then like there are some problems that it doesn't support async transformations at that times, and the lack of the good native ESM support. So it will becomes like really hard, and some of the people that saying that's the only thing that's force them to like not switching to Vite at that moment. So then we kind of think about that maybe we can like make a test ourselves on top of Vite, so like we can reuse all the transformations that Vite has, and also the great plugin ecosystems that we can reuse that. So we can reuse that in our test, and then like we can make sure that all the like transformations, all the environments are consistent with your app. So yeah, then we comes up with this project. So like as you can see here, that's the feature list. So like basically like we kind of now like being like, I don't know, like 95% compatible with Jest. So like most of the syntax that you are familiar in Jest that we have now, and then like if you want to do the migration, it should be like quite straightforward. And with the support with the power of Vite, we support all of both TypeScript and JSX, and also like we made an ESM first and support top level weight. So and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So like that's discussed about that. If you have any questions.
Yeah, I imagine it must be pretty interesting because so Vite runs like primarily like in dev, it's relying on a browser for like the ESM support. So I imagine this has got to be quite a bit different considering with your unit tests, there is no browser, right? Like, so like, how does that, I'm trying to picture in my head how that even works with the same sort of approach, or if it's all just like written from the ground up.
And so like when we do the transformations in Vite, things like the browser have like a slight difference way of the resolving your modules. Things like you in Node you can have that import from React, but like if you do that in React, if you do that in browsers, that's the browser doesn't know that where is the React comes from. So you need to replace that with an URL, with and like the rule, and then you serve that files in your server. So in Vitejs we so we keep that the resolving thing. So like things like the plugin expected like the ID is being resolved into a browser compatible way. So like it'll be like slightly different from Node. So we made a bit like I created a project called Vite Node that like basically like doing the evaluation process as like a bit like mocking the how browser doing it. So we grab the modules and then we like grab request for its dependencies. So and then we evaluate right away inside of Node. So
Gotcha. That's cool. It's an interesting approach as well. So I imagine I'm interested in this because I feel like just like how I knew browser bundling felt very antiquated, I feel like our unit testing systems we're using today still feel a little bit clunky. Like every time I start up Jest on like my CI server, it feels like it takes quite a bit longer than it should to do the basic like startup and such. So anything to help push that in a faster direction, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I want to give chat a chance, last call for any questions you have for these two, anything about Vite, about Vitest. I think my last question for you guys is I want to, you should give me like all your favorite links, right? Like, so if people want to get started, where should they go? Do you have any like recommended, posts on this, like, or like which documentation pages to go to? You said there was a good Discord. We should make sure to get that in the chat as well. So any recommendations you have around any of that, now's the time to drop that.
I think that the best is start from the documentation from both projects. So Vitejs.dev and Vitest.dev. And both projects will, like if you add chat at the beginning, so chat.vitest.dev, Vitejs.dev and chat.vitest.dev, they will get you to Discord. So I think that like if you are already in Discord and they're in the docs and in the GitHub page, you are kind of like a long way. And another one, like as we saw, like the Vite.new, like just to try, like I see this is really important that you feel the difference. And also Vitest.new. So if you like want to see Vitest working, like and feel that like HMR that also like Anthony was talking about, like it's like test it or start it locally also, like but feel it.
Yeah, my pick would be the Patak's blog about the Vite ecosystem. I just put the link there. Yep. So like it just be a like massive entry. So like to the world, like there's like thousands of links inside of that blog post. You should like definitely check it out.
I posted like that one, I think in end of November, and Vitejs is not there because Vitejs is only like 2 months and a half old. So I really need to do a part 2 of that post.
It's very cool. I think I've got everything. If you look in chat, I've been dumping these links in. So the post on the ecosystem. I love the chat subdomain. That's really slick for joining in the Discord. That's really cool. So I have those there as well. We should get most of those links if you're on YouTube down in the description, so you can check those out there as well. So I'm not seeing any other questions in chat. Is there anything we missed, guys? Is there anything about Vite that you're dying for people to know that I haven't brought up, or that you feel the great need to get out there?
One thing about Vitejs that like this HMR for test that actually like just to like say it again, like go and check how it feels to get the HMR, but for test instead of like for your web app, because I think that feedback loop makes a lot of difference.
And that was the Vitest.new. That was the best way to try that out.
Yeah, but yeah, like
Okay.
you
changing the
can
test.
check.
Yeah, so go, Anthony.
Yeah, so Vitejs.new will be the basic example of the vanilla JavaScript or with TypeScript, I think. But like we also have like a few examples inside of our repo.
Okay.
So and yeah, let me share. So we have that.
Yep.
So
I got you.
here is the repo. So like we have the examples directory, and this is like all the examples that we had, and then we run the test of them like in each CI. So like we can make sure that all the dependency or like all the example showcase are working, so that you can try out with the React thing. So the configuration will be like quite straightforward. You don't need to like configure like any like too much about that. And then like maybe here I can show you that if you like go to here, I think so Vitejs.new, so it will bring you up to, I think my network is not quite okay. So you can see that. So here we also providing an UI for your test. So that's things like Vite is the server, right? So we can like there's like a special path called like Vitejs, so that you can access this like kind of like command board of your UI, and then like you can see all the modules, all the files, and then like you can even see the dependency of that modules, but not complicated in this case. But then like here that you can see the example here. So like if you add the files and save it, it'll be like instantly like rerun the test, and then you can see in the consoles or in the UI as you prefer. And then like we can also supporting the just snapshot feature. And one thing that I would like to demonstrate is that really cool is that our like inline snapshot. So for example, like I have this one, so to be matched to match with inline snapshot. And oh yeah, I need to make this happen. So basically, like you can see that the result is here. So like maybe I can have a function called add and have a here, and then like return a +1, right? So then I have this expected to here be 1. So what's the, I think weird.
The snapshot is like not updated yet.
Oh yeah, so like I need to have the npm Vitejs call update. Oh, npx, sorry. With the /u, it will update your snapshot like consistently. So like if you change here, so like 4, you can see that this line is changed immediately. So like
interesting.
If you want to change anything, like this one will be like really straightforward to like testing that things like all the feedback loop is inside one files, and then like you can see that. I think this is also like true in ingest, but that could take a lot sometimes compared to like we can be like almost instant. So I just want to show you, and you should like try it out to see.
I think I was sold by trying this by seeing how fast the that test updated from like pass to fail, and like faster than I could even see it. Because even in like my Jest test suite today, that takes like a second or two and not milliseconds. So that's really slick. We had one last question come in from chat, and we'll wrap up with this. Somebody, Jonathan, asked, where can new folks learn about the roadmap for Vite? Or maybe you could just talk even more generically in addition to that, like what's coming, what sort of things are you working on?
Yeah. Niputi actually like answered that one. So they are also like part of the Vite team. And yeah, they're like, if you go to the milestones in the Vite repo, you are going to see that there is a milestone for 2.9. Then it's going to be a milestone for 3.0. We are planning to release 3.0 when there is the end of life of Node 12. So we can actually like stop supporting that one. and like also remove some of the deprecated APIs that we accumulated during this year. But there you are going to see, I think that for 2.9, there are already like 20 PRs that are already kind of like queued. And normally when we like start like a beta period that lasts, let's say like 2 weeks, and we merge during that window. So we give some opportunities to the ecosystem to try it out.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I do want to give a special thanks to Anthony, who's joined us at a very crazy time for him to help make this time slot work. It's one of the cool things about open source is like we're all in different parts of the world and we can make this work. So that's kind of cool. But thank you for being accommodating for that. I should also give you guys one last shout out. The State of JS survey was very good for Vite. I think you guys had some awesome numbers. So I hope that translates into more users and stuff for you as well, because it's a really cool project.
It's excellent.
Yeah. Cool. Everybody, thanks again. Again, we do this on Wednesdays, telerik.com/React-Wednesdays. So check it out. And with that, until next week. See everybody.
Bye.
See you.